Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Innal hamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh. Wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So we are proceeding further with the Surah Fatiha. Before the Surah Fatiha, we are proceeding from the Takbeer onwards to the opening supplications. Now, let's recall a little. The importance of the Salah was mentioned and the consequences of not performing the Salah. And again, it was mentioned that Salah is our vehicle to Jannah and Khushu is a means of how we maintain that vehicle in a good manner. Now, there are usually two very predominant approaches in our society that we adopt when it pertains to our spirituality. One is it's an extreme, something out of the universe. It's a sort of a metaphysical, bizarre, out of this world, and a mind-blowing conversation or approach. Now, there is nothing practical about it. Next slide, please. The other extreme is a feeling of guilt. We feel that, yes, we are dirty, we are sinful, we have done so much wrong, we are like the trash. Now, when we start approaching Allah and we start coming with this particular feeling, we are not treating ourselves as the ashraful makhluqat that Allah has given us, that honor that Allah has given to us. And here, this is also very unrealistic. And it cannot be attained at all. And you are setting up a very impractical standard on yourself for the spirituality. Ultimately, what happens, instead of encouraging us, it demoralizes us more than inspiring us. So what we need is a very practical approach spiritually, not killing spirituality. The most practical form of spirituality is nothing but the Salah which we are doing. The next slide, please. Now, having covered the importance and the criticality of Salah, as well as the khushu that is required for experiencing the sweetness of Salah, now we move into the Salah itself, Bismillah. Now, one of the most important prerequisites of performing Salah is to know, understand, and also experience what we are doing, both through the recitation and the physical movements of our body. Now, during the course of the talks, we will give some hints on how to make the Salah enjoyable, how to make the Salah beautiful, in the sense that we keep reminding ourselves that we are in the presence of Allah, who is the CEO of the universe. And it is only to him that we will ultimately return. There's nowhere else we can go. Now, there are some important things that I would like to I would like you all to keep in mind. Now, the first is the prerequisites of preparing for Salah, such as ghusl, wudu, keeping your clothes clean, having the proper approach. These are not covered in this series. Then again, we have been trained since childhood, and even the question of the reverts, that we have to offer the Salah, which is including of the Sunnah and the Nafil, etc., along with every Farz. So giving the impression to these people that Sunnah is also as good as important as a Farz. Now, when this sets into our mind, what happens is we think that the whole Salah will take so long. oh my God, 4 sunnah, then 4 farad, then 4 sunnah, then again 2 sunnah, and again the nafil. Where do we have the time for that? So then the shaitan comes in, he scares us, and in the bargain, what he says, you're going to take so long. You have these things to do after Salah. You have these things. You'll be missing certain important meetings. As a result of which, we skip the entire Salah. And in that basis, we don't even do our fard, unfortunately. So if you're getting influenced by such thoughts or don't have time to offer the Sunnah Salah or the Nafil, please concentrate on the Farad Salah alone. Start with this first. Don't miss it at any cost. As you develop khushu, inshallah, you will automatically make every attempt to offer the Sunnah Salah and inshallah followed by the Nafil Salah. But at no cost you should miss your Farad Salah. The next is fiqh matters will not be covered. Yes, there are minor variations in certain minor aspects of the Salah based on not only the 4 schools of thought, but also the numerous sects that unfortunately we have divided ourselves into. We should not and we cannot fault any particular school of thought. First of all, we must learn to respect them and not create controversies. When we do the tafsir of Surah Fatih, inshallah, you will get the message of Allah for us in this particular aspect, inshallah. Next slide, please. Now, again, one very important thing is don't recite the salah with your mind. Recite with your heart. Important is move your lips as you mention each word. Feel it in your heart. But don't whisper or mutter in such a manner that it will distract the person next to you. And also remember and remind yourself that this is your vehicle to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is your vehicle which will give you the entrance to Jannah, inshallah. And who is a better guide than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself? Now, bi'idhnillah, let us get on board the vehicle of Salah. So fasten your seat belts and make every attempt to ensure that your chest within which your heart is does not allow the whispers of the shaitan to be affected by it. The Salah journey will not be more than 10 minutes on an average for each per Salah. I'm talking about the 4 rakat. The 2 rakat and 3 rakat will be much less. So you can get off the vehicle after each Salah and attend to your other duties. Wait eagerly for the next opportunity. How you perform your Salah will affect your actions between the Salah. Next slide, please. So once your heart belt, not the seat belt, once your heart belt is fastened, here are a few flight instructions. Or let me term it as Salah instructions. Perform your Salah with love, with sincerity, with your heart, to please and seek the acceptance of Allah and Allah alone. Now, while you are able to concentrate and actively participate in a job meeting for hours together, the chances of you concentrating in a Salah for just a few minutes appears tough, but it is not tough when you apply your heart and sincerity. Whenever your mind gets diverted, make an attempt to get back to your Salah. And as I mentioned in the very first presentation of the series, you will be rewarded for that. Your total time of your Salah being successful depends on the time taken to perform the particular Salah with khushu. The attempts you make to return to your concentration every time your mind gets diverted also gets the reward from Allah. The next is the children around you at the time of Salah. Now, be careful. Do not discourage the children when they are with you during the Salah. Make sure that they are of an age say 4 to 5 years, from which they can really start participating, even though they don't understand, but they will be able to follow you much easier than all of a sudden asking them to be pushed into Salah. We know a lot about how the Prophet ﷺ dealt with children while he was offering Salah. Now, concentrate on how you perform your Salah. You understand? Let not your eyes keep wandering this side and that side. Because what happens is the shaitan will take the opportunity to divert your attention from Allah to the person next to you. And then you will start observing that person, how he does the ruku, how he does the sajda, and then automatically your mind will start finding fault and criticizing. Or sometimes even appreciating. Never, ever, ever do this. Someone was told that his salah is being offered in a wrong manner. So the person replied that the one who asked the question has not performed the salah at all. So that person surprisingly said, why? I finished my salah. So what reply did he give? You were watching my salah, so how did you get the opportunity to offer your salah? Your mind was diverted. So if you observe that some mistakes are being made by the others, please put your views to him or her separately, not in public, and also in a polite manner without criticizing and finding fault. Never ever insist. If in spite of your telling he or she does not agree, please leave them alone. Please leave them alone. You are not an authorized scholar to keep telling them all this. Leave them alone. You have done your duty. And even if you're authorized, please put the matter across very politely in a way that would help that person to realize that you're telling him for the sake of Allah. And the person may be following any of those sects or the schools of thought. Leave them to themselves. Next slide, please. When you learn and understand the eloquence and the beauty of what you are reciting in Salah, you will never think of anyone else. But instead, you will be very selfish to take all the benefit to your own self. You understand? As you will see when we move along on the other parts of the Surah Fatiha, etc., as we move on. So Allah knows the sincerity of our hearts. He will ultimately guide us. So please be patient. We must realize that Allah is watching and we are not answerable to Allah on how others offer the salah. He's not going to question you about that. You understand? During your salah, he's not going to ask you, why did this person offer in that way? Yes, you can address them after the salah. You are answerable for your salah to Allah. So now here we go. Ask for Allah's help while performing the salah. Keep your eyes fixed on the prescribed places. Observe the postures of salah properly to the best extent possible, and above everything, focus on the meaning of what is recited during salah. Now we move to the first aspect. Next slide, please, which we call as the takbeer. What is takbeer? Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than dash, 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 dash. Anything you think of, Allah is greater than that. So the beginning to the prayer, the initiation that you do, the entrance to your salah is takbeer, by saying Allahu Akbar. You understand? Again, you're using Allah. All the other terms of, all other names of Allah also come into this. Now, there are 3 to 4 opinions among various scholars as to the root word for which the name Allah has been derived. We'll go briefly into it. One is Allahu, Allah. That is what Allah, Allah, Ya'lahu. These are the verbs, which means to do ibadah, to worship. From this, Al-Ilah and Allah, the one whom we worship, comes. The next is Waliha Yalihu. Waliha Yalihu is to be overwhelmed, to be amazed. to be shocked. And from this, Allah, the one, the very name of Allah amazes us. It shocks us at His majesty and it overwhelms us. Next slide, please. The next is Laha Yaluhu. Laha Yaluhu again is to create. So Allah is the one who creates. Or another thing is Laha Yalihu, to be hidden from the eyes of the people. Allah is the one who's hidden from everyone, from the eyes of the world, from the people's eyes in this world. Another unique thing is that the Arabic letter Lam is a light letter generally, when people who know Tajweed will understand. But with the exception that when you're saying Allah, you don't say Allah. You say Allah. You're stressing on the Lam here. Majority of scholars declare that the word Allah has no derivative and it's something which is a unique word. If it had derivatives, it would give itself to different translations. So to avoid that particular situation, it is only taken as Allah with no other derivative. Another beautiful thing is the translation of Allah in any other language still remains Allah. Translation of Allah cannot be God. It just cannot. The earlier scriptures, let it be the Jewish, the Christian, Hindu scriptures, have the name Allah, which has been removed earlier by those people themselves. Next slide, please. So next we go to Akbar. Now the root word for this is kabara, which means great. Akbar is the comparative and not the superlative. You understand? Allah, it always means greater than dash, 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 dash. Greater than what? It is left to the reciter to customize it in whatever way he wants. Supposing his mind is wandering to something else. When he says Allahu Akbar, that means where his mind has gone is not at all okay. Allah is greater than that which diverts his attention. So you're pounding the fact always into the head that Allah is greater than whatever it may be. Let it be the phone ringing, the knock on the door, whoever is calling your attention towards right now, any of these things. Just recall. Somebody says, Nara-e Takbeer. And how we shout out, we scream at the top of our voices, Allahu Akbar. Do we really realize what we are actually saying? Do we really need such a rush in our Josh to make our throats hoarse on this? What are we trying to achieve? Can we not say it politely through our hearts? Your hearts will go further than your screams when you say Allahu Akbar loud like this in the streets or in any other place. Say it in a proper manner. There's no need to shout it. Next, now we come after the takbir, after we say Allahu Akbar, we start the opening supplications. Now, there are about 7 opening supplications that are authentic, narrated by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is showing the flexibility that we can use any of the supplications. The 3 most often recited and recommended supplications by the scholars and the most common in practice of the Sahaba are given below. Any of these 3 is okay, or you can do more than one at a particular supplication. It does not mean you should do only one supplication at one time. You can even do those entire 2 or 3 supplications. Right. So the Imam, keeping in his mind the congregation, he recites any one only. This is from the Sunnah and not the Fara'id regarding the opening supplications. He doesn't recite out loud. Next. Do not, now we come to the next slide, please. Yeah, keep this slide as it is. Do not start, what we are taking here is Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa tabarakasmuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghairuk. I'll just give the meaning and later on we'll go into detail about the meaning. How absolutely perfect you are, O Allah. You're unique and special. And then I continue on with your praise. I will not stop praising and thanking you. And with your blessings that lasts a longer time, through your name, your decree, your decision, enforcement, majesty, your majesty is exalted beyond our own imagination. And there is no ilah other than you. Now, many often people start with this, Sana Subhanakallahumma. No, Sana is not to be mentioned. Sana is like an opening. You don't have to mention Sana. It is not as an opening supplication. Just start with Subhanakallahumma. Can we have the next slide, please? Now, we'll go through the meanings. Subhanaka, that is, the root is sabbaha, which is to swim. To swim with the head above the water. This implies that whoever you're doing tasbih of is above and beyond everything else and anyone else. Now, swimming is a regular calculated operation. The movements are to stay afloat in the water. Similarly, the tasbih of Allah is what keeps us afloat in this dunya amidst all these temptations, our desires, our whims, our fancies, our trials, and our tribulations. It's a beautiful way to say, I am above everything in the dunya when I am taking the name of Allah. You understand? Just as a person would die if he cannot swim or if he comes onto the water, similarly, if he stops praising and glorifying Allah, he will die spiritually due to all his distractions of the dunya. The next is Allahumma, O Allah. Here, MMA, Ummah, cannot be used again for anybody else except Allah. You can't take the name of somebody and say, oh, so-and-so Humma. No, it only applies to them. But to the same person, you can say, Ya Allah, as you say. You can say, Ya so-and-so, Ya Sadiq. Or you can say another, Ya Salim. But you can't say Salim Humma. You can't say that. You're understanding that. So you can say, Ya Fatima, Ya Arshad. So there's nothing unique in that. But when you're saying Allahumma, you have to be careful. You cannot call anyone else by that name. Wa bihamdika. Wa is and bihamdika, with your praise and thanks. So now I'm continuing on with your praise and your thanks. I will not stop praising you and thanking you. Now, regarding this word hamd, inshallah, when we go to the details of Surah Fatiha, we'll go into more information on that, inshallah. Wa tabarak, the next slide, please. Wa tabarak. And with barakah, blessings. The extra meaning of, extra feeling of blessings is built into this word because Allah is the source of all blessings. Barakah is something which lasts for a very long time. It is most blessed. This word is derived from the word birka. Birka means it's a huge pond, which is a collection of water. Now, water has been there for a very long time. The more you take the water out, it keeps filling all the time. It never gets empty. Ismuka, your name. Now, what is the benefit of saying your name is the most blessed? If Allah's name itself is so blessed, then imagine how blessed Allah himself is. The next slide, please. So, what do we use to get the blessings of Allah? And how do we access those blessings? By using his name. Before starting anything, we complete and completing something, when we do intend to do something, something which impresses us, we say Subhanallah. Now, next word, wa and ta'ala. It is the exaggerated form of the word, meaning most high, most exalted, beyond anybody's imagination. Jadduka, your decree, your determination, your enforcement supersedes and overrides everything else. The root word of Jadduka is Jad, which means determination, a resolve that you make to yourself. What you determine, whatever you determine, O Allah, is what we are saying. Wala, and absolutely no, ilaha, the object that is being worshipped, for which you're giving your devotion, your dedication, your veneration you're giving, is the ilah. Ghayruk, other than you. Okay, we will take a short break here, and inshallah we will continue with the second and the third supplications, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma inna nas'aluka imanam mustaqima wa fadlan da'ima wa nazar rahma wa ilman nafi'ah wa aqlan kamila wa qalban munawwara wa tawfiqan ihsana wa tawbatan nasuha wa sabran jamila wa ajran azima ولسانا ذاكرا وبدنا صابرا ورزقا واسعا وسعيا مشكورا وذنبا مغفورا وعملا مقبولا ودعاء مستجابا وجنة الفردوس نعيما برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.